Hello, teachers with ELLs. I'm just getting back with you guys to explain the actual Access for ELLs report. I will be sending them to you about your kiddos. I'm sending a screenshot to you guys right now to look at as I explain this. So I apologize for continuing to look up and down as I'm reading the report and shooing a fly. At the very top of the report, you'll have the district information, the student's information, the ID, birthday, their grade level cluster. The access report actually breaks everything down into grade level clusters and tiers. Kindergarten students are tested on their own test. First and second have their own cluster. 3 through 5 has a cluster. 6 through 8 has a cluster, and 9 through 12 has a cluster. So that's how they're tested. So a 4th grader will be taking the same test as a 5th grader. A 6th grader will be taking the same test as an 8th grader. But to work with the levels of proficiency, it's also tiered. So you'll have a Tier A, which is a newcomer to the country, a Tier B, which is a student who's been in the program but is not quite high enough to test out, and a Tier C is given to a student that is close to actually English proficiency. So you'll see that at the top you'll find the information, their cluster and their tier. Then underneath of that, to the left-hand side, you'll have the language domain. The listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Those are the 4 areas that the access test assesses in English. Then underneath of that, you'll have oral language, literacy, comprehension, and the overall score. Oral language, literacy, and comprehension are actually just a combination, different combinations of listening, speaking, and writing scores. And then the overall score is the composite score of all of it combined. The test actually would range from a 1.0 to a 6.0 are the scores that you can get. That's the proficiency level. There's also a scale score. So next to the language domain, you'll see a scale score. It's from 100 to 600. And you'll kind of get a little bit more accurate idea of where the student is. After that, you'll see the confidence band. If this student was to take this test, they're confident that they will score between these 2 ranges. So you'll see 2 different numbers there for that, and you'll see a line in between them. So if they took this test 10 times, they're pretty certain that they're confidence band, that they would score in between these 2 numbers. And then at the very end, you'll see the proficiency level. And it also says 1 through 6. In order to test out of ELL, a student must receive a 5.0 on the reading area and a 5.0 on the writing area on a Tier C. So, if you start looking at your scores and you see your students scoring higher in those areas, check and see if they have a Tier B or a Tier C. We're only able to exit them out if they have those numbers on a Tier C. If the student is scoring really high on a Tier B, we're able to give them the Tier C the next year to allow them to try and test out. Underneath of that, you will see the comprehension breakdown, the speaking task breakdown, and the writing tasks. And it talks about the social and structural language. It talks about the language of mathematics, of science. What it's really talking about in layman's terms is using the vocabulary words from math. They're going to have questions, not actual calculations, but using the language of math, where they would have to explain a math problem. Or science, they would have to explain a science experiment. They won't actually have to come up with the outcome of the experiment or do the experiment themselves. They would just have to explain it using the English language. Speaking tasks are the same. And then as it goes down to the writing task, it talks about the social and instructional language, language arts, mathematics, science, language arts, and social studies. Using the same thing as speaking, they have to use those words in their writing. So you'll see the points possible. I know it can be an overwhelming report to look at first, but please let us know if you have any questions. Once you have it broken down and you look at it, you're really looking at the proficiency level in the areas that they're in. The main ones that we're looking at are reading and writing. Listening and speaking are also important, but they're also the easiest. The students actually do pretty well in those areas. Some of our students need a little bit help with the speaking because of the technical language. For instance, we're looking at Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. If you have a student and they look at a picture of a canoe and they call it a boat, we can't actually give them all the points for that because we're looking for the word canoe. or Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, you've got a trip, you've got a journey, and then you've got an expedition. We're looking for those higher level vocabulary words to actually get them on those higher scores. So, this has been an overview of the Access for ELLs teacher report. Please let us know if you have any questions. We're more than happy to answer them, and we look forward to working with you this school year and your ELL. Have a great day.